Hey guys, Matt here. Everybody's talking about the NanoBanana, but I want to show you this Qwen edit locally can do everything the banana can. We have time of day, we have season changing, adding people, character location change, colorization, zooming out, adding text, context change. This is from a photo, adding fire, adding a dog, changing the camera, adding a character, and this alien, some really silly posture changes, jumping, something plausible. Here we have ridiculous to the absurd. The character changed a little bit there, but what we really want to show you is how this thing can work in high resolutions with a mask and add really detailed characters, very specific. Look at that, it pulled the chair out so that the man would sit in it. I mean, crazy. If you are an ArchViz artist, this is absolutely going to be the video for you. Whatever you're doing, if you're not using AI, this will absolutely convince you that it's something to bring into your toolbox, because we can get super granular with our characters. You can literally prompt each one of these characters, how they look, where they sit. Here's an example of a AI-generated rendering, if you will, for testing purposes. It placed these mugs down, but I prompted remove the mugs, bottle of wine, couple sitting on the sofa. Then I also did my upscale to 4K. If you haven't seen my upscaler yet, I'm going to demonstrate that again today, because you can see how well it maintained from the low res. Here's the low res, and how the characters were added, and then we upscaled it. And so you can imagine if this was your rendering, you know, it's done a phenomenal job adding and maintaining detail. If you want to get started, it's super easy. You already have the workflow. Go to Browse Templates, Qwen Edit, and right away everything should work out of the box. However, you can turn on the LoRa and reduce your steps to 4 and the CFG to 1 following this prompt guide. However, there's just one error in this default. If you see the LoRa, click on the LoRa, get the link to the LoRa page, and there's a new one. And there's actually 3 files I want you to download. The version 2 that just came out 18 hours ago. And then here it's the edit. When that was made, I don't think this edit LoRa existed. And that makes a big difference, and I'll explain why in a bit. But download the 8 steps and the 4 steps. And then from here you can pretty much work right away, load your image, and prompt time of day, whatever you want to change. And if we go to my version, you can see I'm using 8 steps, and the CFG, I'm kind of balancing out a little bit of the higher steps and the CFG. And you can also, you can get this for free, by the way. Go to hallet-ai.com, scroll down, I have the free one right here, and it'll be a link, and you can just download that. I'll also include a GGUF version. But with the GGUF version, I'm going to have these floating right here. You just have to switch them out and just change the model, so you don't have to change your prompt and load the workflow. So if you run under VRAM, just load these GGUF. There's also, I'll have a link as well to download those GGUF models. There are 3 files for the GGUF though, okay? I've got to remember to, I don't want to forget this part. In the clip loader right here, the instruct, there's 2 files. It'll be clear in this, in my markdown here, but there's 3 files. There's a little extra one that you have to place right next to the instruct, okay? It's like MMOJ or something. So make sure that that's there. Instructions will be in that file. And everything else is pretty straightforward. You are prompting this whole image, okay, and it's regenerating the whole thing, and it does a phenomenal job at maintaining everything. However, it's just slightly different, especially when you overlap them in Photoshop. And now if you're trying to splice something in very specifically, and it does make a change, one thing, it has a slight problem when it regenerates this image, depending on what it's looking at and what it's been trained on, it slightly changes it. You see, there's a little jog, and other times it's really extreme. It'll almost zoom back 120% or something like that. So this can be really annoying if you are adding something to this scene and want to blend the 2 images together by lowering the denoise. If you go too low, it won't add anything, and nothing will happen, of course. But you can go as low as 0.85, and that seems to hold the whole frame and works in the masking as well. So that's sort of the solution for that, along with using the edit LoRa. Okay, that helped a lot. When I was doing this, the LoRa, edit LoRa, I didn't know was existed because I was just following this link here. So that edit LoRa helps as well. Now, I don't find the quality of that edit LoRa is as good as this default one, especially version 2. The quality is better there. However, it can add a little distortion only on some images. So that's the sort of problem with this whole thing right now. But yeah, it's still worth it all because it's so amazing. Clearly, you know, this is what FLUX dreamed it was going to be. I think that's it. You can prompt anything. In my download, you'll have a whole bunch of example prompts here that I've used. And I think I've covered that all now. So let's go on to the in-paint high-res mask. Okay, here's the workflow I've created for using high-res renderings and adding something specific to it. You simply go over here to your image and write down here, say Open Mask Editor. Okay, and we're going to draw a mask around the table. And make sure that you predict where the shadows are going to go, because you have to include those as well. And also, like if you're removing something, make sure you include the reflections, or even adding something, include the reflections and sort of guess where that's going to be. And that's going to render out at 1024 by 1024 pixels, typical native default resolution for a lot of things. You can increase that. There's a setting down there at the bottom. You'll see it when you get the workflow where you can adjust that. I also have an experimental feature that scales this a little more accurately and kind of makes it a little larger, especially for faces. That helps. So here we're going to have just simply add people having dinner at the existing table, move chairs to fit, and then add diversity. All right, and here's the results. I can't run it right now in real time because you can see my VRAM with Photoshop and recording. It's all maxed out. This Qwen is really VRAM hungry. So it did a great job. It fit everybody in. Now I'm going to remind you, if you skipped ahead to this point, to lower your denoise if there's a mismatch. I left this preview in here because this preview should match this generation, and these two should match. And it's not a scaling issue. It's not a problem with the mask. It's not anything. It actually, the issue just seems to be the nature of this model. And the Qwen edit, this and the LoRa with this new one with the edit, since I added that seems to help a lot. But it's really the denoising. And if you have this issue where the person and the whole image just scales, it's I don't know why it's doing that. It's just something about the way it's adding things. It just distorts it. And so, yeah, fortunately there is a solution, and that's the denoise. You can't really prompt your way out of it, although I've tried. And if you find a secret word that prevents this thing from being distorted, please leave a comment below. Shift just makes it a little more aggressive. So I haven't really noticed much of a change in my testing. And these are basically the settings I'm using, and it's that straightforward. If you want to add somebody without another reference around, so in this case you really want a close-up of this area to add somebody because you want it to be a high-res in paint. Because if you select a larger area, remember it's scaling it down to 1K, so when it scales it back up, the person's going to be kind of grainy and the face might be off and stuff. So you want to crop around and mask the smallest area possible. However, if there's no reference around that person, the AI has a really hard time understanding the scale. So there is still a need for adding 3D characters through your scene to get all the to get anybody added. It doesn't have a problem adding people in this image, for example, because there was, you know, it can reference. I do the whole image and then I upscaled it and then I painted out any areas. It also seems to have a bit of an issue with people like on the side. It was really easy adding people to chairs or into this water, but on the side without any reference, she was sometimes kind of in a weird spot. And so you sort of even have to prompt almost against add woman on the furniture near the wall, or, you know, behind the towels. So you have to get really specific with your prompting. Yeah, so here I'm testing for characters and they go left to right. So you can simply add and be very specific. I said, put the man back further. He's not sitting far enough in the chair. So then he added another one behind it. So you can see the amount of tests that I do. That one wasn't very successful. You know, a couple looking at the mountains. But you can see here what I mentioned about the size. You see how this it scaled it. I didn't even notice that until I went back and forth and side by side and noticed that there's slight variations. And if you skipped ahead, if you come to my website, hallet-ai.com, scroll to the bottom here, I offer my LoRa's for architecture, and now I have the free one. That's the global edit that I showed you at the beginning. And then, of course, you can get the one I just showed you. It's only $10 if you want to fast track your way to the future of inpainting. Now let's get into upscaling. So you can make a whole global change, upscale it, and then paint in the characters so that your renderings match perfectly. Whoa, don't click off the video because you're not seeing Comfy. I've closed it and I'm opening up WebForge, and I load it really easily with Stability Matrix app that I've promoted before. I'm not getting paid for any of this. It's just super great free program to manage your generational imagery apps, okay? Share the models so you don't have to have anything new installed. Just get this running and then go to the GitHub link down below. It's a free upscaling script I've designed. Took me months of learning how to program and code, and I got this with ChatGPT. And all you have to do is just drag it into the extensions folder under your data packages, WebForge, and put it in extensions, and it'll just run next time you boot up down at the bottom here, okay? So just to get you started, we have our image-to-image tab, and we're going to be using FLUX to upscale. And I made a whole video called How to Be Magnific. I thought it would really catch on and thought it was a really clever name. Nobody watched it. I'm going to just go over it briefly here. It's really simple. You drag and drop. You could even do batch images, okay, with a directory. And you take your image in, and then we go to resize by. You can see that right now it's a 1K image. We're going to go all the way up to 4K. And we're going to just change the sampling method to DPM2M, SGM uniform, distilled 3.2. These are the settings I recommend. And you can use version 1.5 of Stable Diffusion or XL. It all works with anything you can load into Forge. And then we're going to put our denoising strength at 0.6, I think, for this one. So it's going to use the original image and upscale it in a way, and I'll show you, because it's going to use the upscaling model to take that little block and then regenerate that block in a tile and move around the image and go through. It's like ultimate upscaler. So that's what I based it on. And then I added a prompting, automatic prompting, because what if you did mountain scene, people standing and prompted this image or photograph, when it goes to that little tile in the sky, if you put people sitting around, it will try to force people sitting around and interpret those clouds as something. So this way, you don't have to prompt anything. It looks at every single tile and then makes its own prompt using Florence. So using a vision model, which will download the first time you run this. And so it's also going to scale the whole image and break it up into these tiles, or buckets, as we call them in VRAM, and then overlap them. In this case, you almost need no overlap. Actually, I'll take no overlap because I want to get this done. And then it's just going to go through in a second here. And if you purchase one of my LoRa's or you want to use a photorealism LoRa, you can select those here. I have a whole collection of LoRa's at halletai.com. This was a daytime Google image rendering that I turned into a night scene. You plug one of those in if you need it. Here you don't. And I am speaking so quickly, we're just going to hit generate. So you can see what's happening. It's going through and making a bucket or tile of the image in about 1K and then processing it, because that's the image resolution that it can handle. And at first it just upscales it using your upscale model and then moves through, and we'll see the results in a second. So I don't put any ad breaks in the middle. I don't have any sponsors. The only thing you can do to support me right now is just please hit that subscribe and maybe turn on the notifications if you like open source local solutions for your projects. Okay, so there you have it. It took 6 minutes and we have our 4K upscale. I'm going to zoom in Photoshop and show you where some of the tiling has happened. And that's the whole point of the overlap. Okay, the overlap defaults you can use, but if you, I recommend typically, I think 10% with 64 feather, and that's something else that I improve beyond the ultimate upscaler. We go into Photoshop and we can zoom in and see how clearly there's a line of tile here that's noticeable, but then of course it's not noticeable here or there, or I'm not sure where else. It's not, you can kind of see it pick up because no matter what, it's interpreting the whole tile. And depending on your overlap, you're going to have some issues. The feathering helps a lot of that, but sometimes it'll just land on on a crucial moment where we have whatever she's holding there. And clearly it took, I think, a shadow or something, and then it interpreted it as some sort of vegetation. That's just typical AI. But you can see that it's done a really good job interpreting most of the objects here. I mean, you go through and you kind of have to clean up a lot of this stuff, but that's what the overlapping's for. So you can do that final touch within Forge, which is how I've been doing it for years. So that's it. I hope you found all that useful, and if you did, please do that like, whatever, subscribe thing. And yeah, that's it. Cheers, peace.